Dad did not just close the door behind me, he slammed my whole life onto the driveway first. My old ThinkPad hit the concrete and bounced into the dirty snowbank beside the porch. Plastic cracked. The sound went through my chest harder than the cold air. "Go stand in the real world for once," Dad said. His voice was thick from beer and self-importance. "Maybe the cold will teach you what real work feels like." Astra. Mom stood behind him in the doorway, phone in her hand, thumb scrolling. Zillow's teal logo glowed against her face. She did not look at me. She never did when he was like this. "I told you this basement thing was temporary." Dad went on. "You are not a teenager anymore. You sit down there, staring at those screens like a roach in a server room. For what? For nothing." I walked toward the snowbank and crouched. The laptop lay half buried, half broken, like a wounded animal someone had kicked to the curb. I brushed the snow off the casing with my sleeve, checking the hinges. The lid still moved. "That was something. You could at least say something," Mom muttered, eyes still on her phone. "Your father is trying to help you." "This is you helping," I said. My voice came out calm. Too calm. Throwing my work into the snow. Dad snorted. "Work? You want to know work? Come pour concrete with me in January. Come bid on real jobs instead of playing pretend with code." He leaned forward on the doorframe, breath fogging the air. "You freeloaded here long enough. No more handouts. No more heat for you to waste downstairs. You want to live like a ghost. Go haunt somewhere else." I straightened and turned to face him, the laptop under my arm. The wind shoved at my back, shoving me toward the street. "Grant," Mom said sharply, but it sounded more like a performance than a protest. At least let her pack properly. She had all day, he said. I warned her. Today was the line. She crossed it. "I am done. You warned me that my electricity was a moral failing," I said. "That my monitors were an addiction. That me not coming to Jordan's open house last week proved I was selfish." Mom's thumb paused on the phone screen when I said my sister's name. She finally looked up, quick, like she had been caught. "Your sister shows up for this family," Mom said. "She works. She sells. She brings clients into this house. She cares how we look. And I do not." I said, "You hide." Dad shot back. "You sit in that cave and you cost us money. Power, internet, food. You are 32 years old and living in a basement like some glitch that will not clear. I am not funding that anymore." I laughed once, quietly. The sound surprised all three of us. "You are not funding me," I said. "You never were." His jaw clenched. "Watch your tone." I stepped closer to the doorway, just enough so the porch light caught my face. I wanted him to really see the look in my eyes. Not anger, not pleading. Just a kind of cold curiosity, the way I studied bad data. "This is not about the light bill," I said. "This is about you needing a failure in the house so you feel like a success." His hand hit the doorframe so hard the glass rattled. "You think you are better than us now. You think those stupid little programs mean anything. Your sister just got another luxury listing in Idaho Falls. You could learn something from her." Mom brightened at that. Like a switch had flipped. She had 3 couples at her last open house. She said, "They called her a natural. She will have no trouble qualifying for that new mortgage." I looked from one to the other. Dad inflated by the idea of Jordan's deals. Mom lit by the reflection of someone else's praise. Every time they said your sister, what they meant was this is the child who counts. My fingers tightened on the laptop. The case creaked. "That mortgage will be easier if the money keeps showing up," Dad added. "But it will not. Not from me. Not for you. You want to eat, you earn it. Tonight you sleep in your car. Maybe that finally shakes you awake. You are really putting her out," Mom said. But she stepped back a little, clearing the doorway, making room. Not for me. For the narrative they would tell later. I am done being the villain in your stories, I said. Dad laughed in my face. You are not important enough to be a villain. You are background noise. Astra. That one landed. Not because I believed him, but because I recognized the shape of it. That was the role they wrote for me. The blurry shadow in the corner while Jordan took center stage. The ghost in the basement. I felt something unclench inside my chest. Not forgiveness, not even anger. Just a decision. I shifted the laptop to my other arm and gave him a small, thin smile, the kind a landlord gives a tenant who has just ripped a hole in the lease with their bare hands. All right, I said. You do not want background noise in the house. I will make it very quiet for you. He frowned, thrown by my tone. What is that supposed to mean? It means you get what you want. I said, no more freeloading, no more ghost. I stepped backward off the porch, boots sliding a little on the packed snow, then turned toward the street. The cold hit my face like a wall. I did not look back at them. I did not give them that last image to own. If you are listening to this right now, wherever you are, tell me your city and what time it is there. I like knowing whose kitchen table or car ride or night shift my voice is sharing, because that night, I walked away from the only people who were supposed to know me at all. Behind me, the door slammed. Ahead of me, somewhere in the white blur beyond the streetlights, the life they refused to see was waiting. The wind pushed at my back as I walked toward my car, the kind of pressure that made it feel like the night itself wanted me gone. The engine coughed when I turned the key, but it caught on the second try. My fingers were stiff on the wheel. I told myself that was the cold. It was not. I drove past the glowing motel signs and the shuttered diners. My phone buzzed once in my pocket. Dad, probably sending one last command, but I did not check it. Not yet. The road to the executive terminal wound along the edge of the airport, unlit except for the blinking runway towers. When the keypad glowed beside the hangar door, I typed in the code. I had changed it months ago and never told anyone. The metal door rolled open with the same slow grind it always made. Inside, the hum of my Embraer Phenom. 300 Echo greeted me like an old friend. The hangar lights flicked on, bouncing off the fuselage. I reached the stairs before I let myself exhale. The cabin was dark, but not cold. I slid into the pilot's chair and set my broken ThinkPad on the console. The hinge squealed as I opened it. The boot screen flickered, then steadied. My trading terminal had been running on a remote server the entire time. Streams of numbers rolled across the display, clean, measured, indifferent. The AI system had processed a 48-hour window of volatility. Realized gain $118,400. I whispered. Good. Not happy. Not relieved. Just confirming. A voice came from behind me. Rough night, I turned. Julian, the night tech from the maintenance crew, stood at the base of the stairs. I had forgotten it was one of his shifts. He lifted his hands like he was approaching a stray dog. Didn't mean to startle you. You did not, I said. He nodded toward the cracked laptop. Looks like someone tried to kill it. It survived. You need a replacement, he offered. I can pull something from the loaner cabinet. No, I said. This one still works. He studied me for a moment. Family stuff. I closed the laptop gently. Something like that. If you need fuel or a flight plan, I can get the captain. I am not leaving town. I said. Not yet. Julian hesitated, then said quietly, if you ever need the hangar to stay locked down from outside access, just say the word. That made me look at him fully. He held my gaze, steady and without pity. Thank you, I said. He nodded once and disappeared down the steps, leaving me alone again. I tapped the keyboard, pulled up the system logs, and watched another line of green text appear. The algorithm kept going, the way it always did, predictable, rational, unbothered, the exact opposite of the people who had thrown me out tonight. The hum of the cabin steadied my breathing, but my hands still felt tight around the laptop. I set it on the tray table and leaned back, letting the weight of old memories settle where the cold had been. People like my parents never believed in what they could not see. So I made myself easy to overlook. I heard Dad's voice in my head, the same line he used whenever bills piled up. "You should be grateful we let you stay here. Astra, you cost us more than you bring in." Back then, I would nod and head downstairs before the argument could swell. Mom would sigh dramatically, loud enough for the neighbors, and add, "If you had Jordan's drive, we would not be in this position." I had drive. I just did not direct it toward making them comfortable. My phone buzzed once. The notification flashed Linux Analytics outbound transfer complete, $3,800. The scheduled monthly payment I had set up 5 years earlier. Dad always called it his lucky retainer from an old client. He never questioned it, not once. I opened the accounting folder quietly labeled MISC Utilities and stared at the spreadsheet. Every transfer, every month, every time I patched their lives just enough to keep them from collapsing. I whispered into the dim cabin. "You were never funding me." Jordan's voice drifted up next, bright and sugary. "Astri, you do not understand. Clients trust me because I put myself out there. You hide. That is why Dad worries about you." She would say it while spinning in front of a mirror, trying on outfits that she said were business deductible, even though I ended up covering her lease more months than she ever knew. I closed the spreadsheet. They built a version of me that made sense to them. Quiet, struggling, dependent. And I let it stand because it kept the peace. But tonight, the peace ended on a driveway under a broken porch light. I checked into the Amangani under a different name, handed over a metal card that linked to a holding company, and let the quiet swallow me whole. For 14 days. I kept my phone face down on the marble nightstand. The screen stayed dark. My world stayed clean. On the 15th morning, I turned it on. The phone vibrated so hard it almost slid off the table. The first text came from Mom. "Astra, did you unplug the router when you stormed out? The business account is glitching." Stormed out. That was her version of being shoved into the cold. Another message blinked in. "Your father is trying to pay the flooring vendor. Says insufficient funds. Fix this." Dad followed 30 minutes later. "You hacked something. Put the money back or we are calling the police." I read it twice, not because I cared, but because the word hack made something in me laugh. Then came another. "Jordan is crying because her commission payout is delayed. Fix the damage you caused." I opened the real estate system on my laptop and typed in my sister's name. The last closed sale under her profile was 6 months old. There was no pending commission, and definitely nothing to cry over except her own debt. A voicemail notification popped up. I hesitated, then pressed play. Dad's voice filled the room, hard and loud even through the speaker. "You think you can punish us? You think cutting off our accounts hurts anyone but yourself. Keep this up, and Jordan's reputation in this valley will be ruined. Do you want that on your conscience?" The message cut suddenly, replaced by another from Mom. "Astra, sweetheart. Families survive because we forgive each other. You need to come home and apologize before your father loses his temper. He already told Pastor Mark you are having one of your episodes again." Episodes. That was what she called boundaries. A final text came through a picture this time. Mom and Jordan clinking champagne glasses at some event last year. The caption read, "Praying for my lost daughter. Some children bite the hand that feeds them." Below it were dozens of comments. "Stay strong. Teresa. Some kids are just broken." I turned the phone face down again. Not one message said anything about missing me. Every line was about money, reputation, image, blame. The silence in the suite felt sharper now. But it was mine. I emailed Elias Rowe the morning after the texts stopped feeling like noise. He replied within 6 minutes. "Send me everything. I will start today." By afternoon, he was knocking on the suite door, briefcase tucked under one arm and concern written across his face. Elias had always been the quiet cousin, the one my parents dismissed with a shrug because he worked in boring compliance before switching to forensic accounting. He stepped inside and closed the door gently. "You all right? I am not hurt," I said. "Just done." He nodded, as if he had expected that answer. "Show me what you want me to look at." I opened my laptop and slid it toward him. "I need a full audit. Business, personal, everything tied to Grant and Teresa Lennox, and anything under Jordan's name." Elias's eyebrows rose. "That is a wide net. They made it necessary." He studied my face for a moment before saying, "All right. Walk me through what you already know." I told him about the monthly transfers, $3,800 every month for 5 straight years, and how my father had never questioned where the money came from. Elias typed quickly. And that covered what mortgage interest, utilities when they fell behind, Jordan's Audi lease most months. He paused. Most months she would forget to pay, or pretend she did not get the bill. My mother would call it an oversight. Dad would call it stress. And you just paid it, because it kept them stable, I said. And because it prevented fights? Elias's fingers slowed on the keys. "You do realize this is not normal." "I do now." He exhaled, a sound layered with something between empathy and anger on my behalf. "Let me pull their credit reports first. That will tell us where the cracks are." While he worked, I watched the screen fill with lines of data accounts, balances, late notices. I had spent years stabilizing a structure that was already collapsing. After 30 minutes, Elias leaned back. "Astra, they have not paid a cent toward the principal on the house in 18 months. My breath stilled. 18. Interest only. They were 1 cycle from delinquency before your transfer hit this month. So they depended on me. They depended entirely on you," he said. "Without the transfers, their finances fold in less than a week." Before I could respond, he opened another file. "And this is worse." He turned the laptop so I could see the screen. A withdrawal record, $82,000, from a custodial college fund my grandmother opened for me when I was 10. The signature on the authorization form was shaky, slanted, not mine. "Elias," I said quietly. "Where did the money go?" He clicked once. A name appeared. The Whitlock family. Elias's voice dropped. "They threatened to sue Jordan for real estate fraud. Water damage she hid. Your mother paid them off." I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not pain, not shock, just clarity. Elias waited, as if expecting me to break. "Instead," I said. "So they stole from me to protect her." "Yes," he said. "Astra, this is criminal." I closed the laptop. "It is a receipt. A receipt. For every year I paid the emotional tax of being their scapegoat." I said. "Now I know the final amount." Elias stared at me. "What do you want to do?" I stood steady now. "Help me finish the audit. Then I will decide." He rose with me. "I will stay as long as you need." The shift in the room was subtle but sure. For the first time in years, someone was standing beside me, not because they needed me, not because they wanted something from me, but because they saw exactly what had been done and refused to look away. Elias stayed hunched over his laptop long after midnight, glasses low on his nose, tapping through records with the calm precision of someone who had seen too many financial autopsies. When he finally closed the lid, he exhaled like a man stepping out of smoke. "That is the full picture," he said. "It is not just mismanagement. It is a pattern. Your parents moved money around to keep Jordan afloat, even when it meant risking everything else. I leaned forward, and now they are collapsing because I stopped paying the bill. He nodded once. You have enough here to press charges. Fraud, identity theft, wire misuse. I am not calling the police, I said. Elias looked up sharply. Astra, what they did was criminal. I know, I said, and jail would make them martyrs, victims. They would tell everyone their mentally unstable daughter destroyed their lives. I am not giving them a podium. He hesitated. Then what are you planning? I reached for the leather folio beside me. Inside were 3 documents: the mortgage transfer, the audit summary, and my tax return from the last fiscal year. Elias's gaze flicked to the numbers circled in red ink, $7,820,000. You want to confront them, he said quietly. I want them to hear the truth in my voice for once. I replied, not through gossip, not through pity. From me. That will not end peacefully. It does not have to. I pulled my phone toward me and drafted the message. Dinner. North Fork Lodge. 6 tomorrow. I have a proposal to fix your cash flow. Elias stared at the screen. They will think you are apologizing. I know, I said. That is why they will come. He rubbed the bridge of his nose. And what do you want me to do? Bring every document, I said. And stay close. But do not speak unless I tell you to. Elias closed his briefcase slowly. Astra, this is going to break them. They broke themselves, I said. I am just choosing the table where they finally see it. North Fork Lodge smelled like old money and quiet threats. The kind of place where every table had a history and every patron wore confidence like a tailored coat. I arrived 10 minutes early and sat with my back to the wall. Elias took the seat beside me, his briefcase resting against his leg. He looked like he wanted to pray for both of us. They are going to walk in expecting surrender, he murmured. I know, I said. Let them enjoy the feeling. At 6:17, their version of a power move, my parents entered the dining room. Jordan trailed behind them, wrapped in a cream coat with the department store return tag tucked sloppily inside the sleeve. Dad spotted us and smirked. Look at that. She came crawling back. Mom pressed a hand to her chest, performing concern. Astra, honey, you look thin. You must be exhausted living out of your car. I did not stand. I ordered sparkling water if any of you want one. Dad waved a hand. Get us the Cabernet from 2014? And the seafood tower? The big one. When the waiter walked away, Mom leaned in. We are willing to overlook the trouble you caused. Families rebuild. Jordan crossed her arms. Just give Dad the new passwords so he can fix the business accounts. My checks are already late because of you. I watched the 3 of them stack expectations like poker chips. A winning hand they were sure they held. Dad sighed dramatically. Let us get this over with. What is your proposal? I slid the leather folio across the table. Page 1. He opened it. His face shifted almost immediately confusion, then irritation, then something close to fear. North Peak Holdings. What is this nonsense? That would be the entity, I said, that purchased your mortgage 8 months ago. Mom blinked. Our mortgage is with Jackson Basin Bank. It was, I said. Then it was sold. Standard practice. Dad barked a laugh. If this is a scare tactic, turn the page. I said. He did. The audit summary stared back at him. Line after line of transfers. Withdrawals. Overdue balances. Hidden payments. $82,000 to the Whitlock family was highlighted in yellow. Mom's breath hitched. Astra, this is... Where did you get this? I commissioned it. I said. Elias performed it. Jordan scoffed. So what, you dug up a bunch of numbers? That does not prove anything. Elias finally spoke. It proves everything. Every deficit. Every misused dollar. Every unauthorized withdrawal. Dad grabbed the folio tighter. This is an invasion. You had no right. You had no right forging my signature. I said, page 3. Jordan snatched the folio before Dad could move. When she saw my tax return, her mouth fell open. $7,820,000. This is fake. It is filed with the federal government, I said. Unlike half of your business deductions. Dad shoved the folio away as if it burned him. You were living in our basement. No, I said. I was funding your lives while you pretended I did not exist. Mom shook her head rapidly, like she could loosen the truth out of her ears. We are family. We can fix this. We just need time. You have 45 days. I said. After that, you vacate the property. North Peak Holdings will file the necessary paperwork. Jordan lunged across the table and gripped my sleeve. You cannot do this. I have a reputation. I pulled my arm free. You have debt. I stopped paying your tab. That is all. The waiter returned with the bottle of wine they ordered. No one touched it. Dad's voice cracked, not with sorrow, but with rage. You ungrateful child. We gave you everything. I stood. You gave me a basement and a script. I am done performing. I placed 2 crisp bills on the table. That covers my water. They stared at me like the ground had opened beneath them. Then I walked out, leaving them with a $1,000 dinner they could not afford and the truth they could no longer outrun. News traveled faster than I expected. Elias texted me 2 days after the dinner. They missed the first deadline. Bank filed notice. It is starting. I typed back, let it. A week later, Jordan's name appeared in the county bulletin, Chapter 13 bankruptcy. Dad tried calling 8 times that morning. I let every call die in silence. Elias updated me again. The Audi is gone. Repossessed at dawn. I pictured Jordan standing in the driveway of whatever house she was squatting in, arms crossed, mascara smudged, insisting there must be some mistake. Mom finally sent a message. We are moving. Just a small apartment until things stabilize. There was no anger in her words this time. Just exhaustion. I stared at the message until the typing bubble disappeared. Then I put the phone face down. That evening, Elias knocked on my hotel door. You are not going to check on them. No. He studied me for a long moment. Most people would drive by. Just to see. I have seen enough. I said, they built their world on appearances. Now they get to live inside the truth. Elias nodded slowly, accepting it. For the first time since this began, the weight in my chest loosened. Not triumph, not spite, just release. I bought the land without hesitation, 60 acres tucked against the lower Tetons, a place so far off the main road that even the sky felt quieter. The closing agent asked if I planned to build a lodge. I told her no. I planned to build a life. Elias helped me haul the first load of equipment into the glass and timber house once it was finished. He set the servers on the counter and wiped his hands on his jeans. This is different from the basement, he said. It is the opposite of the basement, I replied. He glanced at the wide windows. You really think you can live out here alone? I was alone in that house for 32 years. I said, this is easier. He nodded, accepting the truth of it without argument. If you need anything, data pulls, records, warnings, you call me? I know. He hesitated at the door. You do not owe them anymore. Astra, even the silence is yours. I looked at the empty room around us. No shouting, no footsteps overhead. No one rehearsing a version of me that fit their story. This, I said softly, is the first place where I am not a ghost. Elias gave a small, sad smile. About time. When he drove away, the quiet settled over everything clean, steady, earned. The snow was falling in slow, heavy sheets the morning Elias showed up unannounced. He stepped inside, tracking cold air behind him, and held out an envelope. This came across my desk. He said, "You should see it." The document inside was a denied loan application, my parents' names typed neatly across the top. They had tried to take a second mortgage on the old house using falsified paperwork. The same pattern, the same desperation. I set the paper down. They are still reaching for a version of me that pays the bill. Elias nodded. The lender flagged it because of the audit we filed. They will not get a cent. There was no sting in the news, just confirmation, a clean line drawn where a family used to be. They made their choices, I said. Now they get the math. Elias studied me, searching for something. You are really done with them. I am finally done pretending they will ever see me. He placed a hand on the back of the chair. So what now? I turned toward the server room, where the hum of my algorithms waited like a pulse that had always been mine. If anyone out there is listening, I said quietly, tell me where you are hearing this from. I want to know how far a story travels once you stop living small. Elias exhaled, half a laugh. You sound free. I am, I said. Then I walked toward the glow of the screens, letting the door close behind me.